Hey everybody! So I just did my last live stream from the Fact TV studio, the Falls Area Community Television Studio, and that was a great resource. There are things that I will miss about being here in Bellows Falls, and that's certainly one of them. But somebody posted a question to the chat. It was JK, and he wished me safe travels, but also in passing, he asked me about vaccine mandates, and I didn't really have time to address that topic in the live stream itself. So here's my 2 cents on vaccine mandates. Peter Zion, who, he's a geopolitical commentator. I typically like what he has to say, but sometimes he says stuff which is just, straight up dumb, and I can't even believe that he believes it. I think he must be just placating some portion of his audience. But he sent around a thing today talking about vaccines and the vaccine hesitant, and he says that, there are people who quit their jobs because, they would rather be unemployed than get the vaccine. But there's a lot more people who quit their jobs because they don't like the fact that some of their coworkers are refusing to get vaccinated, and they'd go rather work in some fully vaccinated environment. And those people are, they're a larger group, and they're probably better employees. He said that, for the HR departments, the people who are quitting because they don't want to get a vaccination were the troublesome employees anyway. That they're not good employees. The HR department is happy to see them go. Maybe, likely they are Republican or at least right leaning or red tribe sympathied. HR departments in corporate America are, they're notoriously woke. So I'm sure I'm sure that folks in the HR departments are happy to see any right-leaning or red-affiliated employees leave of their own accord. But the thing that he said that I thought was just dumb was that he validated the idea that people who get vaccinated have some legitimate gripe against coworkers who don't. Because as far as I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I understand it, these mRNA vaccines do not prevent the transmission of COVID-19. All they do are make it more likely that you will have mild symptoms or no symptoms, or that you won't be hospitalized. Basically, you're more likely to survive. You have a more robust response to the virus if you've been, inoculated. I've been inoculated. I've had the 2 shots. I'm not coming from a vaccine hesitant perspective here. But on the topic of mandates, I think that the pharmaceutical industry, because of its past bad behavior, and, I think the bad behavior is largely motivated by, one, just the profit motive, and 2, the fact that the United States government, for whatever reason, will not negotiate with the pharmaceutical companies to keep prices down, when the federal government is the payer, for like Medicare and Medicaid patients. The same drug that you might pay $100 for here in the U.S., you can get for $10 in Canada or Mexico. It doesn't cost that much to make it. Anyway, I'm not going to go into a detailed criticism of the pharmaceutical industry. Let's suffice it to say their sins are many and well documented. So there is legitimate mistrust of the pharmaceutical companies and medical technocratic authority in general. So I don't think that the technocratic, medical apparatus, which includes the pharmaceutical companies, the vaccine manufacturers, but also hospitals, doctors, I think that whole system, it doesn't enjoy enough legitimacy in the eyes of most people to impose a vaccine mandate. And, the details, the severity of the pandemic, notwithstanding, because I think it's not particularly severe. Yes, a lot of people have died in raw numbers, but the mortality rate from this thing is quite low. And I agree with Noam Chomsky. If we were talking about a resurgence of smallpox, which has a 30% mortality rate, a third of the people who get it die, that's a different world entirely. What's justified under that scenario is it's a different planet than the one we're on. The one we're on, where if you're healthy, and not in some high-risk category, the chances of you dying from this thing are minuscule. And the the thing that the vaccine helps with is your internal immune response to the virus. It doesn't prevent you from transmitting the virus. If your coworker gets the vaccine, it doesn't prevent them from transmitting it to you. So as far as I can see, there is no legitimate grounds for demanding that everybody get the shot, including people who absolutely, positively do not want it. If the current government enjoyed a higher, more broad-based legitimacy in the eyes of the populace, if the medical technocratic institutions enjoyed more legitimacy in the eyes of the populace, that might be a different story. I still don't think that a mandate would be justified, but that would be a different story. The actual story, the situation that we have is that there is a long list of dysfunction and, deliberate misinformation, fudged studies, pharmaceutical industries writing papers about their drugs and then getting, some academic to sign their name to it to sort of ghostwrite it. I mean, there's a long history of this sort of abuse. And because of this, and because of, bizarre cultural idiosyncrasies here in the United States with, people in the middle of the country just staking out a distinctly different mental position, worldview than the people on the coasts and in the prosperous places, you might think that that's tribal, that it's irrational, but it's real nonetheless. A sizable chunk of this population does not trust the medical establishment, they don't trust the government, and they absolutely, positively don't trust the people, who are the elite opinion makers on the coastal cities. They don't trust big tech, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't trust big tech. They have absolutely no reason to trust Google, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, the FANGs. They have demonstrated that they are going to abuse their power, to favor some viewpoints and to denigrate and suppress others. It's demonstrated. This is not a theory. This is not some vague accusation. I mean, this is a very well-documented pattern of behavior on the part of the people, who are elevating the voices saying, yes, vaccines, yes, people who don't want them have to get them. And here's the thing. I mean, this is, from my perspective, this is the bedrock issue. Yes, the people who are saying everybody must get vaccinated, they do feel fear because they have been trained to cultivate their feelings of fear, because they have been told that their feelings of fear give them the authority to compel other people to change their behavior. I disagree. I think the fact that you've allowed yourself to get caught up in a fearful response doesn't give you any right to tell anybody else what to do. But I think that the people who really want to enforce a vaccine mandate, yes, they do feel fear, and they might genuinely believe that they are motivated by a desire to increase public safety. But from my perspective, their primary motivation, their bedrock, fundamental, first-order psychological motivation for demanding that other people get the shot is that they want the people to submit to authority. They want redneck, cracker, gun-toting, Bible-thumping motherfuckers in the middle of the country to bow down and surrender their bodily autonomy to medical technocracy. The blue tribe, elite opinion makers fetishize submission to authority. And the red tribe motherfuckers, they fetishize freedom. They fetishize, flouting authority. They fetishize, giving the bird to authority. I think that the medical implications of this are window dressing. This is a struggle with the blue tribe wanting to humiliate the red tribe. I think that is the primary motivation. And I don't think it's a worthy motivation, and it's certainly, it does not justify forcing people to accept, a drug or a remedy or a therapy or whatever you want to call it. Some foreign chemical introduced into their body via puncture in their skin. They don't want it. You say they have to have it. I don't think you've made a sufficient case to say that, overriding their personal autonomy is justified in this instance. So there we go. That's my thoughts on vaccine mandates. In theory, they might be justified under different circumstances, but under our current circumstances, they're not justified. And more importantly, under our current circumstances, the reasoning given to justify the mandate is dishonest. It's not about public safety. It is about humiliating the red tribe. It is about forcing people who fetishize personal autonomy to submit to technocratic authority. That's what it's about. All right. That's it. Talk to you later.